Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where I love to bring you the best tips and tools for creating beautiful home decor on a budget. Today I'm excited to bring you 7 quick and easy Christmas DIYs that you can make with just a few items. So let's get right on into the crafting. Today's first project is going to be a Merry truck sign. I'm using one of these square frames with the wood beads, a little red truck ornament, some Scrabble letters, some scrapbook paper, and burlap ribbon. Now, if you cannot find these frames with the wood beads at your Dollar Tree, they do have a few different square frames you could use and then maybe add some beads later. So what I'm going to do first after I remove the backing is go ahead and put a layer of Mod Podge, spritz some water on my scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby, and lay that down. The water really does help it adhere better to the Mod Podge and dry without bubbles. Once it is dry, just go ahead with a cutting mat and your fingertip knife and just trim away those extra pieces. Then you can just pop it right back on into the frame and see, look at that, how super cute that looks already. Now you could use one of the wood cutout trucks and go ahead and paint it, but I decided to use one of these smaller ornaments. Don't worry about the knife, just use your fingernail to get that little bit of glitter off. I just was not wanting it to have the glitter on it, so just scrape that off. Then I took a little bit of my truffle chalk paint and I'm just very lightly going over the red in different places just to make my truck look a little dirtier and older. So brush on some truffle, maybe go over those wheel wells there. And then I did take a paper towel and just kind of smudge the paint. So just adding a little, we'll say, layer of dirt to our red truck. Then go ahead and put some hot glue there to keep the Christmas tree glued down and let that dry. This burlap ribbon, I'm pretty sure, was from Dollar Tree. It's not the wire edged, it's a thicker burlap, and I'm just going to trim a piece and then fray it a little bit on each of the 4 sides. And then we're going to set that right here on our backing. You can see I just put a dot of hot glue and then just kind of tap the burlap into the hot glue. Then we'll go ahead and put our tree on, but I noticed that the truck, but the tree was making it stand out, so I just kind of trimmed a little bit of the tree there on the back so it would lay flatter. And then I have so many Scrabble letters from thrift store Scrabble games, but I know you can buy these at Dollar General in their craft section. So I decided to put the word Merry. You can put whatever word you'd like. And then the last step is to go ahead and hot glue your little red truck with the Christmas tree onto the little burlap. And I think this is so adorable. The frame was $1, the truck was 25 cents. So you maybe put $1.50 into this, and I just think it's super cute for a quick and easy gift or a craft show item. Our second item for today is a mop head gnome. Now, I am not crazy about the gnomes, but I know a lot of people are, and I saw this really cool way, really easy way to make it using a foam cone, a sock, and a mop head from Dollar Tree. So just take your mop head and cut the individual pieces as close to the black little plastic part as you can. You could probably make 2 or 3 or 4 gnomes using one mop head. My cone is 9 inches, so I'm just going around and measuring 4.5 inches right at the center. I'm making little dots, and then I'm just going to draw a line here as a reference of where I'm going to glue my mop strings. So now taking a little bit of hot glue at a time right there at that line, I'm going to put the individual strings down, get them as close to each other as I possibly can, and into that hot glue without burning your fingers, of course. So go ahead and get those mop strings glued all the way around that line at the center of your foam cone. Now, once you have those glued all the way around, you're going to want to do this very tedious but not difficult at all job of untwisting each of the mop strings. They are each made of 4 smaller strings just twisted together. If you lose a string here or there, it's okay. You'll still have plenty, but you're going to go around and do this all the way around your foam cone. Next, you're going to take a sock. I decided to use these fuzzy Christmas socks that I found at Dollar Tree. Cut the toes off as straight as you can. You might need to go a couple times. And then you're going to fold that out so it gives a little bit of a brim, and then work that down over the top of the cone until you're overlapping a little bit where the mop strings are glued. You can see how this is easily going to come together to be a little gnome once you glue your little wood bead on there. I did take a clear hair rubber band from Dollar Tree and just tied it around the top of my sock, and then take your wood bead that's flat on one side and go ahead and stick that on to be the nose of your gnome. Now you could leave the hair long like this if you want. I did go ahead and trim it all the way around the same length as the cone, except for in the front. My son said I should leave it a little longer and make it kind of pointy to be his beard. So that is how you can very easily and simply make a Christmas gnome. If you are stopping by my channel for the first time, welcome. I hope you'll consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button, and also tap the bell and choose notifications. YouTube should notify you of my new uploads depending on what you choose in the drop-down box. DIY number 3 is going to be a Christmas faux book stack with an added little extra. If you've been on my channel very long, you've seen me make these out of these wood crates, some scrapbook paper, some sticker letters, and I'm also adding a little item to sit on top of the books. Also, if you've been on my channel, you know I love Waverly's Antique Wax. It just really elevates the look of any project. I did buy 2 more bottles today because they had it at my Walmart and I never want to run out. So once I did that on the entire outside, now I'm taking this really cute plaid scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. I'm cutting 2 strips that are about 3/4 of an inch wide, and I am going to wrap these around what would be the middle book in our stack. So put on some matte finish Mod Podge, and I'm going to then spritz some water on the back of my little scrapbook paper strip and get that adhered down. I will wrap this one as far as it goes around, and then we will add a second strip starting on the other side until they meet up on either of the ends. Now I found this chunky set of 2 Christmas trees at a thrift store. I'm going to go ahead and rip off that fabric because it doesn't quite match the scrapbook paper. And then we're just going to Mod Podge that same scrapbook paper on that smaller tree. Now if you don't have anything like this, you could definitely use a couple of the wood Christmas trees from Dollar Tree that I'm going to show in a later DIY in this video. You would just need to make like some tumbling tower blocks on the back of them so that they could stand up. But just Mod Podge that and let that dry. Now with my tiny little sticker letters here, I'm going to do Farm Fresh on my top book, and then my bottom book is going to say Christmas trees. So Farm Fresh, Christmas trees, and then once you have all your stickers down and pressed down, you're going to want to go over those again with some Mod Podge just so they stay adhered to the wood crate and don't peel up off your project. These are just the little touches that, especially if you're making things for gifts or craft shows, that you just want to take these extra steps to ensure a high quality product. Now again, once that scrapbook paper is dry, just flip it over and with your fingertip knife and a cutting mat, go ahead and trim away the excess scrapbook paper until you've gone all the way around your tree. Here I had to just kind of hold it up and go around it from the front. And that is that for the trees. Now I love that the two plaids match. Now taking a little bit of jute twine, we're going to use some hot glue to attach it on the inside of the bottom of the crate. Wrap it 3 or 4 times around your book stack. And then once you trim it, you're going to glue it again, the other end, on the inside of the crate as well. And then you have a little jute twine bow you can make. Just wrap it around your fingers a few times and then take that other piece and tie it in the middle. If you would rather use ribbon, you could use a nice red or green that would match your plaid scrapbook paper. So I just added a tiny little jute twine bow to the top of my book stack, hot glue that on, and your book stack is finished. I plan on maybe selling this in my craft show, otherwise keeping it for my tiered tray. Project number 4 today is a Joy to the World Christmas tree sign using 3 wooden Christmas tree ornaments from Dollar Tree, some Christmas fabric from Walmart, and this unfinished wood sign from Michael's. This was maybe $2 or $3. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give the entire back and sides a coat of Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. I feel like these are a really good value from Michael's. Now, if you don't have the fabric, you could definitely just do this with scrapbook paper. This one that I'm putting Mod Podge on right now is like a little coloring kit from Dollar Tree, and then the other 2 smaller ones are the pack of ornaments. Yes, I did also spritz the back of my fabric and went through the same process that I do for the scrapbook paper. So Mod Podge, spritz your fabric or paper, and then let those dry completely. The nice thing about the fabric is the Mod Podge makes it a little stiffer so that it's really easy to cut with a good pair of scissors. So go ahead and trim that fabric from around your 3 Christmas trees. Now I've been using this same pack of wood stars from Michael's for a very long time, or Hobby Lobby. They have a lot of different sizes. I just painted 3 of them white. And then once my black on my board was dry, I did do a layer of Mod Podge. Obviously, you can tell I poured way too much. It just really came out really fast. So try to get some of the extra back into the bottle, but just go ahead and do a layer of Mod Podge over everything. It just makes it look a little more nice and finished with the matte finish of the black chalk paint. So put that down and then go ahead and hot glue your little stars to the tops of your trees to finish those off. And you can see maybe at the top there, I did kind of trim the star of the wood ornament just so that it wouldn't stick out behind the little star. These 3 trees fit perfectly on this size board, so I'm just going to hot glue those to the bottom, the smaller ones on the right and left, and then this larger one in the center. And I think this is so adorable, especially with that black background. Now I just Googled Joy to the World and found wording that I liked, and I printed it in the size I wanted. I didn't use carbon tracing paper because of the black background, but if I go around it just with the stylus, you'll be able to see here in a second that it kind of left an impression in the wood that I will still be able to trace with my white paint marker. So Joy to the World, or whatever wording you want, there you can kind of see what I made with the stylus, and then I just traced and filled it in with my white paint marker. I did let that first layer dry, and then I did go around it a second time to make it nice and white and bright. And here's my finished sign. I love how it turned out, and this only cost me a few dollars to make. You could modify this for any shapes and wording. If you love budget home decor videos, I hope you'll give this video a thumbs up to let YouTube know that this is content that you want to see. DIY number 5, we're going to make some foam dice word blocks. This is going to be a less expensive version of the wood cubes. You get these 4 foam dice for $1 at Dollar Tree in the toy section. They measure about 2 inches square on either side. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to give them all a coat or 2, depending on what paint you use, of some black paint. I'm using Waverly's chalk paint, and it pretty much covered as much as I needed in one coat. So you're going to see I'm going to be using scrapbook paper here, so I didn't need to apply a second coat. I'm going to make this set of blocks 4 different seasons. So for Christmas, I chose 4 different scrapbook papers. For fall, 4 different papers. 4 different Valentine type papers, and 4 different winter. You do not have to do that. You could pick 1 Christmas paper and cut 4 squares of it. So my blocks are 2 inches by 2 inches. So my paper, I'm cutting 1 3/4 inches by 1 3/4 inches. So here you can get an idea of the Christmas papers that I used. I'm going to show you all the papers I used. Pretty much all my papers were from Hobby Lobby, except for, I think, my winter ones I had in my stash from my paper crafting and scrapbooking days. But really, you know, if you use the wood cubes, those cost $1 a piece. These cost 25 cents a piece. So you could make little sets of these for gifts or to sell in a craft show. So those are my 4 different sets of papers. And then I'm just going to brush some Mod Podge on the back of my paper square and adhere that down to one side of my foam dice. So we're going to be spelling 4 different words, 1 for each season. I did leave the tops and bottoms of my cubes black, but I did go ahead and give them a layer of Mod Podge. You'll see me do that once we finish getting the paper and the sticker letters on. So here, like I said, are the 4 winter snowman type papers. Maybe you could keep this up like January through the beginning of February or so. And then we'll show you what you can do next. So here's back to the Christmas one, since that's the season we're kind of getting ready for. These sticker letters are from Dollar General's craft section, but there are so many choices at Dollar Tree or Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Just find some sticker letters that will fit on top of your blocks here. So for the Christmas ones, we're going to spell Noel and have those lined up. And then once we have our Christmas word, we're going to flip our blocks to our fall scrapbook papers and spell the word fall. Then our more Valentine type papers, and we're going to spell the word love. And then we'll be back to the winter type papers where we will spell the word snow. I would say you probably maybe would want to make another set of these that would have maybe like a summer word or a spring word. So let me know, maybe grow for spring and summer. I'm not sure what, but you guys let me know in the comments below if you have a spring or a summer word that has 4 letters. You could also do this on the tops and bottoms of the blocks, I guess, if you didn't mind seeing them from the top. So once all our sticker letters are on, we are going to do Mod Podge over the top. We don't want any scrapbook paper or sticker letters peeling off. So I just do one side at a time, let it dry completely, and then we'll go to the next side. So here's our little blocks. Here's the side that spells Noel, and then snow, and then love, and then fall. I thought these were super cute. They took a little bit of time, but very inexpensive to make. I definitely will be making more of these for my craft show. So let me know if you think of any spring or summer words. DIY number 6, I'm going to make a rather large Days Until Christmas countdown sign using some old scrap wood, some wood letters, this truck from Dollar Tree, and the rectangular chalkboard. Now, I've had this scrap barn fence wood or whatever for a long time. You can tell just how dry and thirsty this wood was because it really soaked in my antique wax. Like hardly any came off when I tried to wipe it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on all 3 of my boards. If you don't have any wood like this, you can buy some at a lumber store or just make a sign like you've seen me do with paint stir sticks, the big ones. I'm going to paint my Days Until Christmas wood letters with white chalk paint, and then I'm just taking some of those 5-gallon paint sticks that I'm reusing from a different project. I'm going to cut them down just a little bit so that I can glue them across the back of my sign here. So these are the back sides of my fence wood that I'm using for my sign. I'm just going to use some wood glue. I want this to not fall apart, so I'm going to do wood glue instead of hot glue and press those down. And then once I have all 3 of them in place, you're going to see I'm going to place some large heavy scrapbooks on top of them just so they stay in place and completely dry to the wood. Coming to my truck here, the first thing I'm going to do is fill in the little holes from the hanger. Now this is one of the trucks that had the pumpkins in the back. I know there's a lot of different versions that Dollar Tree has, so just find a truck. You can always cut pieces like pumpkins off, and I am going to use my Crimson Waverly chalk paint to paint my entire truck red except for the tires. I'm just going to go ahead and do everything else, and then we'll go back in with some paint markers to do some more details. So like I said, I love these Elmer's paint markers from Walmart. This is a black fine tip, and I'm just going around the tires there and just basically coloring them in. I am going to leave that center circle and then fill that in with a silver one. I do end up, once the silver is dry, making a smaller black circle in the center of that. I'm also going to go around with my black marker, fill in like some of the bumpers, do some shading in different places around the wheel wells, around the windows and doors, and you can just see what I'm doing here just to make it a little more 3D and not quite so flat, maybe like adding some shadows in. Then next I'm going to take this brown Sharpie paint marker and just fill in the wood there for what would be like the fence kind of going around the bed of the truck. And then my truck is finished. Now I have one of these little wood chalkboards. This is one that had the little easel stand on it. I just took that off, and using wood glue, I'm going to attach this here at the top of my sign. Again, put a heavy book on it just to make sure it lays flat. Then at the bottom of my sign, I'm going to center my truck and go ahead and use wood glue as well to attach that and hold that in place. Then in the center of my sign, I have this wood snowflake ornament from Dollar Tree that I also painted white. We're going to glue that down in the center, and then you can see how I have the words Days Until Christmas laid out, and we'll glue those on as well. Last step is just to add a little bit of an embellishment at the top of the chalkboard. I did mine off to the side. These are from Dollar General. And I love this. This will be so fun to use one of the chalk writers from Dollar Tree and just count down the days until Christmas. And our last project for today, we're going to make a wood pallet ornament using a Christmas ornament from Dollar Tree, as well as one of these wood pallets from the crafts section. And I'm using some wood beads that I took off one of those square frames. You can use any beads you'd like. So again, the way I most easily like to upgrade the look of a project with wood is to use my antique wax. So I am doing the front, the back, the sides, all the little cracks and crevices in between, and then we'll go ahead and wipe off the excess and let that dry completely. So to paint my wood beads, I decided to try a method that I've seen other people do, but I found this to be very messy and I do not like it. I much prefer just putting my beads on like a chenille stem or like a pipe cleaner and just painting them with a brush. I felt this was kind of a waste of paint. Maybe I did it wrong. Let me know in the comments if I put too much paint. Was I supposed to do something else? But anyway, I tried it and I have 10 wood beads here that I painted black. You can see that I did do a light sanding on my palette once the antique wax was dry, and then just to make it look even more farmhouse and worn, I'm just going to dry brush some white chalk paint on there as well. So that's the background for our little ornament sign. Now I'm going to take the word peace from this Dollar Tree ornament. You can see I've removed everything else, and we're going to, with generous amount of hot glue, adhere this to the center of our wood palette. Then I'm going to take some jute twine, double it over, tie a knot, put some Scotch tape on the end, and then we're going to string our black wood beads. Now this is another part that makes it more messy, is there was paint that got inside. So you can see when I put the string on, there's like a big blob of paint coming out of the center. So like I said, I've tried this. I probably will never do painting beads like this again. But anyway, I tried. Now you know what not to do. Then I'm going to take another one of these embellishments from Dollar General and glue that to the top of our word. And then we're almost done. We're just going to now take our string that has our 10 black beads on it. I have a knot on either end that we will hot glue there on the back at the top against that cross piece that goes down the right and the left. So stick that knot in there, let it dry, do the one on the other side, and then I did trim the little extra pieces of jute twine before you would gift this or sell it in a craft show. And I just love this. I do plan on making more of these with the Noel and also the Joy Christmas ornaments from Dollar Tree. Thanks again so much for joining me today. Please let me know in the comments which of these projects was your favorite, and we'll see you next time. Bye.